Imagine being a 6'3", 220-pound black man in the 1900s demanding to be a part of the iconic NYPD. Well, it actually happened, you all. His name was Sam Battle, and I want to tell you all about him. Come on. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to The Human Side with yours truly, Officer Jill. And we are getting right back into our monthly series of celebrating Black trailblazers in law enforcement. If you haven't caught it already, check out the very first one, telling the story of Bass Reeves, who was a slave turned U.S. Marshal. But this week, we are getting into another first timer. His name is Sam Battle. He was the first Black police officer in NYPD. Now, I'm not big on reinventing the wheel, right? So in my research and learning about Sam Battle, I came across a great video that was done by the Daily News. So in order to get all the information, the best information out, I'm going to show you parts of their video. And I'm going to jump in and out to give my take and what I see and the things that I have learned regarding the story and the life of Sam Battle. So let's check it out.
Samuel Battle was a smart, tough, courageous African American who demanded a place on the New York Police Department when the ranks were closed to blacks. He broke the color line in 1911 and overcame unimaginable hardships to lead thousands of blacks onto the force. He became the first black sergeant, first black lieutenant, first black parole commissioner, an aide to Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, and friend of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. Sam Battle was born in 1883. His father and mother were former slaves. And he grew up in the rural South in New Bern, North Carolina. And then he decided at the age of 16 that he was leaving the South on his own to go north because he thought the North would be better. At the start of the 20th century, Battle went to work in New York as a redcap at the old Grand Central Depot. With a big winning personality, he connected there with celebrities. He carried the bags of black heavyweight champ Jack Johnson. He greeted and adored Teddy Roosevelt. Enrico Caruso, the great tenor, taught Battle to eat Italian food. He even appeared in a Broadway musical. Sam Battle, quite on his own, decided to do it. He wasn't part of an organized effort. He just decided that he wanted that job. But when the department finds out, the police surgeon determines, in his opinion, that Sam Battle, this very physically fit person who'd been carrying luggage for 5 years, had a heart murmur and was disqualified for joining the force. It was a clear fraud and pretext. Battle got around it by going to a very prominent white physician. The doctor wrote him a glowing report that was presented to the police department. It was presented to the mayor by the activist who had now gotten involved in his case. There was pressure. There was writing about him in the New York Age, the black-oriented newspaper of the day. And the mayor at the time said, okay. The day that Sam Battle showed up for work at a station house that was then on West 68th Street, a crowd formed outside. They came to see what they called the N cop. His fellow officers refused to talk with him, and they kept him in silence for 2 years. But what they wanted to do was drive him out of the police force and not give him any advice or help. They would not allow him into their dormitory at the police station.
Okay, let's pause for a second. Now, they mention how none of his co-workers, right, none of the other cops wanted or even attempted to help him. And I think about that, and I think about my own career, and I think about how difficult that must have been. I can't even imagine trying to learn or trying to be a cop without being taught. I think about how I go back to when I first started. Obviously, you do 6 months for us. For our department, we do 6 months in the academy. Is that enough? I don't know. Some people say no. Some people say it doesn't really matter anyway because your job doesn't start until you hit the street and things get real. Which I'm going to lean towards agreeing to more. But I go back to when I first started, when I was on probation, and all of the things, all the valuable skills and tools and experience that I was able to get from other seasoned officers. And the fact that he didn't have any of that for 2 years, how difficult that must have been and how dangerous it was. One of the most important parts of being a police officer, one of the things that we always tell each other is that we need to make sure that your partner, and whether that means your partner in your car or your partner that you're helping respond to on a call, that they go home at night to their families. And he didn't have that type of protection. Let's hear some more about him.
So they took his bed, they put it on the 3rd floor in what was then called the flag loft, where they stored the American flag, and they made him sleep up there. And he would sleep there in isolation. He'd look at the flag and he'd say, "That's the American flag. Why are they doing this to me?" On the street, tour buses would come to see him. People would pay money to come by and have the tour guide say, "Look, there's the colored cop." So he endured that for a whole number of years, never complaining about it, never attacking them publicly, and every day, in every way, proving that he was a better cop than they were. That's how he did it every step of the way.
Yo, did you guys hear that? I can't even imagine. Here you are representing someone of authority, wearing a uniform, and you have people paying money, probably with some of the other cops, paying money to have a tour bus stop and see you like you are a sideshow. And he just responded by not responding. I talk a lot about emotional intelligence and emotional regulation because it's essential in being a police officer. And this is a great representation of emotional regulation. And I think about the many times that I have been on a call, responding to a call, helping someone, and hearing people in the community that look like me call me so many names, calling me a traitor, calling me a sellout, telling me that I work for the man, and also having a white male call me the N-word with the ER at the end, BITC, you finish the rest, and not responding. It's hard, y'all. I'm not going to lie. It is challenging. So I know how Mr. Battle felt. But when you know you have a greater calling and a greater responsibility, you take your job serious and you deal with it and you keep it pushing. And that's what Battle did. Let's hear some more about him.
Saving the life of a white cop in black-on-white rioting, heading one of the NYPD's first SWAT teams, helping LaGuardia calm black rioting in 1935 and 1943, mentoring Sugar Ray Robinson as a teenager, befriending Jackie Robinson when Robinson was still playing football at UCLA, and giving Jesse Owens a place to stay when Owens came home from the 1936 Olympics. When the race was run, Battle wanted his story told. He hired Langston Hughes, the poet genius of the Harlem Renaissance, to write his biography. But theirs was an ill-fated partnership. The work was never published, but it's the foundation for one righteous man. Perhaps the only person in the white world who understood Battle's accomplishments was Eleanor Roosevelt. She met Battle as First Lady when Battle was a lieutenant. Later, she read the Langston Hughes manuscript and wrote a foreword. It read, "This is a record of a man's life, and as he tells it, you not only see one life, but you see the struggles and the victories and the defeats of a whole group of U.S. citizens. What courage it took, what remarkable stamina to be the first colored policeman in New York City. There were qualities of mind and heart and body that were purely personal, but above everything else, there was the realization that he was fighting not for himself alone, but for his people."
Wow, that's pretty cool. He got recognized by the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, the president's wife, in the 1900s. That's pretty dope, right? So let me just share some of his accolades and some of the accomplishments that Sam Battle achieved. So obviously he was one of the first Black police officers in NYPD. He was the first Black sergeant in 1926. He was also the first Black lieutenant in NYPD in 1935. He was the first Black parole commissioner in 1941. That man was on a first-time mission, and I love it. And this is one of the commemorative honors. Sorry, y'all, I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. Samuel J. Battle Plaza was created in 2009 in recognition of his enduring legacy. The intersection of West 135th Street and Lenox Avenue in Harlem was named Samuel J. Battle Plaza. This location is historically significant as it's where Battle saved a fellow officer's life during a racial skirmish in 1919. So where his plaza is the same place where he saved a white officer who did not want to help him, did not want to sleep with him. He saved him from being attacked by Black rioters who are more than likely rioting against the police because they're being mistreated. What an amazing man. Amazing man. I want to share some more things about him. Come on.
The more I got into who Samuel Battle was, the more convinced I became. And I am absolutely sound in this belief today that he was both a good man and a great man, and that it is a great shame that he was forgotten, that he deserved a terrific place in the pantheon of civil rights leaders in New York City and America, and that his story says a lot about what one man can accomplish with determination and courage.
I love how he ends the documentary expressing how he had determination and courage. And I couldn't agree more. In fact, I want to share some of the 3 takeaways that I have from Sam Battle's life and his story. Again, just like I said with Reeves, there are probably more than 3. No, there are definitely more than 3. And I'm sure you may have some as well. And I hope you share them with me in the comments. But let me share my 3 takeaways that I got from the story of Sam Battle. So 1, his courage. His courage. He was a big man, 6'3", 220. He was a big man that had big courage. He had to step into 2 major responsibilities, if you really think about it. One was stepping into the role of a police officer. And I know, or I believe a lot of people don't fully understand how big that responsibility is and how big that role is. I'll never forget the first day of the academy. We're starting at what we call 0 dark 30, like 4:35 in the morning. You're out there and you're running around, you're doing push-ups, all the things, and then you go into the classroom and they have a very serious conversation with you, and they express to us the realness of what we are signing up for. And they express to us that you are going to be judged for the things that you do, the things that you don't do, the things that you say, the things that you don't say. You're going to be criticized in ways that you have never been criticized before. And some of the most challenging parts of that is that you're going to be criticized by people who will never, ever step one day, 1 minute into your shoes in doing the job. And they express to us that this is a very real reality. And if you can't handle it, it's okay if you want to leave. And they gave people an opportunity to get up and leave if they wanted to. Thankfully, no one left. Now, not everyone made it through the academy. That's a different story. But that's a very real and huge responsibility that you're signing up for. He was signing up for that, but he was also signing up for another responsibility of being the first and only Black man in NYPD, which is a whole different level of responsibility, as we saw in his story. He knew from the beginning that he wasn't going to have any support. He knew it. He knew from the start when they tried to deny his application by claiming that he had some type of heart issue, a heart murmur. He knew going into that he wasn't going to have any support and that this was going to be one of the most difficult things of his life. But he did it anyway. He had the courage. He had the courage to continue to do it anyway. That's one of my takeaways. The second one is his leadership. He wasn't afraid to take the lead on a very difficult task of being that first person, being the guinea pig into the world of NYPD as a Black man. He led by example, not only to the people that look like him, but he led by example to the white officers as well. How? How did he lead by example to the white officers? Despite the many things that they did to him, we just got a glimpse, I'm sure a glimpse or just a taste of some of the things that they did to him. And I say that in knowing what goes on in police stations and the practical jokes. And I can imagine the level of cruelty that was presented to him was nothing like we do these days. Ours are fun jokes. But nevertheless, despite all that, he didn't respond. Not at any time did he do anything retaliatory that we know of. Not any time did he do anything retaliatory. He led by example. He showed them, he influenced them by his own good behavior. There's a mentor of mine, he says that great leaders lead by influence, not authority. Sam Battle was a big dude. He probably could have beat up a lot of those guys. Probably. But he didn't do that. He decided to lead by influencing them. And that influence obviously worked because he went on to be a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a parole commissioner. So that's number 2, his leadership. So the third one is his mentorship. As I mentioned, it was well noticed that he didn't just do it for himself. As we hear in the video, it was very clear that he knew that he was doing this for not only the Black community, but minorities all over the place. He inspired many others to pursue the honorable career of law enforcement in New York. Check out these stats. After Sam Battle's groundbreaking appointment in 1911, the department has seen a significant increase in diversity over the decades. As of October 2023, the NYPD's uniformed force comprised of 33,536 officers. Oh my Jesus. That's a lot of officers. 33,000 officers with approximately, check this out, 53% identifying as members of minority groups, including Black, Latino, Asian, and Asian American individuals. The department is more than half minorities. Now, was Sam Battle the only man that contributed to this? No, but it's obvious that he was one of the ones that started this. And I am a huge proponent of diversity in the sense that when you have a collection of people from different backgrounds, different values, that are raised different, you have a collection of information that you can't get from anywhere else. You have a collection of invaluable information and experience that you can't get by just having one people group. There's great value and resources in having diversity. In addition to that, I want to also mention how mentorship played a role. And when I think about that word mentorship and I think about the importance of seeing someone who looks like you and how that can inspire someone to also pursue that path, I think about myself. You know, growing up for me, I wanted to be a cop since I was a kid. I remember falling in love with police. I remember falling in love with policing in the 3rd grade when the DARE program came to my school. And I'll be honest, growing up, I didn't see too many Black female officers. Growing up, I don't remember ever really seeing any Black female officers in my neighborhood. And nevertheless, it was still something that I wanted to do. Fast forward, whole story on how I got here in policing. I remember I was going through the hiring process and I ran into some challenges with other agencies and I wasn't getting hired for crazy reasons. And I'll talk about that in another video. But I was on the verge of quitting. I was ready to give up on my dream of being a police officer that I had since I was in the 3rd grade. And it wasn't until there were 2 Black women that were influenced to me that, where were there? I don't know why there were balloons there. And I remember one of them, the police department was, they were doing promotions and there was this huge billboard on the freeways all over the place and they were advertising and recruiting women. And I remember seeing a Black woman, a Black officer on that billboard and seeing her on there and having that feeling of encouragement. And I remember thinking to myself, if she can do it, I can do it. And that encouragement helped me continue to follow my dream. And I'm almost positive there were many officers who saw Sam Battle and said, if he can do it, I can do it. So let's do a quick recap of the 3 takeaways that I had from Sam Battle's life. 1 was his courage, right? His courage to be the first one to go into NYPD. His leadership, his ability to showcase leadership by way of influence and not authority. And number 3, his mentorship. Because of his mentorship, because of his willingness to be the first, he is now encouraged. He has now contributed to a very robust NYPD. So I want to say a big thank you to Sam Battle. What an amazing life. What an amazing story. And everything that he has contributed to the NYPD, to all minority groups, and to the world of policing. I truly believe the more diverse we are, the more value we add to ourselves. Well, thank you again for watching another episode of the Human Side Officer Jill. I will be continuing this series, this Black History series, There will be another one next week. I'm not going to tell you who it is. So go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, like, share, all that good stuff. Hey, really quick, I do want to hear what you have to say. Leave a comment. Leave a comment down below. What are some of the things that you take away from Sam Battle's life? And more importantly, you already know, if you show me your human side, I show you mine. All right, y'all. Peace.